Hey there, Har here. It's been almost a week since 10.1.5 has dropped, and I'm giving another update to builds, what I personally have liked a lot, and even a couple of changes in what I thought had previously been, or should have been good, or more damage, but not actually. So first off, as far as the build I was talking about that I thought would have done more damage, but is probably not going to, it would be the Twin Moonfire with Ursoc's Fury build. So originally it was like this. The problem with this build is maintaining Twin Moonfire uptime is quite difficult, especially since you actually have shorter incarns now due to additional rage you can spend inside of incarn. So say for example, right here, this is 5 mobs, but if you do even bigger pulls, like 8 to 10 mobs, you will be constantly rage capped every single time you have a Tooth and Claw proc. Every time you have a Tooth and Claw proc, you are going to be rage capped. And this, again, just goes even higher the more targets you pull. Brackenhide is a very good example of it, where you have all the lashers that spawn from the oaks, from everything actually. And so you can have up to 20 targets at a time. And so you're constantly rage capped. Because of that, as you're spending a lot of that rage on raise, the difference between pre 1.5 and now is that you actually get incarn faster. You actually get incarn quite a bit faster. And during incarn, this is the main thing. During incarn, the only 2 buttons you want to be spamming is mangle raise the entire time. And that's because Vicious Cycle is such a strong point. Mangle inside of incarn hits multiple targets, and because it hits multiple targets, it instantly gives you max stacks of Vicious Cycle. Raise also does the same thing. Whenever it hits multiple targets, it will give you max stacks. Well, multiple targets being 3+, because obviously this only stacks up to 3. So those are the only 2 buttons you essentially want to be pressing. Obviously, spending excess rage on Iron Fur if you're just, overcapped on rage kind of thing. And so during incarn, if you're spending GCDs on Moonfire, you're actually losing a lot of damage by not pressing Mangle Raise. The only exception would be Thrash. You want to be pressing Thrash to refresh the duration of the bleed, because obviously you will do 10% increased damage if you have 2 points in Flashing Claws, 6% otherwise. So you definitely want to maintain that. The combination of both wanting to be pressing Mangle Raise the entire time in Incarn, 30 seconds straight, and on top of that, you get Incarn back faster. You only have, like on Brackenhide, I think I only have windows of like 15-20 seconds where I'm not inside of Incarn. And so you can refresh Moonfire during those periods. But ultimately you're not going to have very high uptime on Moonfire. And so the 2 points put into Galactic Guardian and Twin Moonfire is weaker than putting those points into Flashing Claws. Obviously this is probably a different case if we're a different dungeon. A dungeon that has less mobs, things like that. But what I have liked actually is a hybrid of that version. I've been playing with 2 points into Flashing Claws. So this is Flashing Claws or Ursoc's Fury still. But I've taken the point from Rage of the Sleeper and I've put it into Galactic Guardian. And this 1 point in Galactic Guardian ranges anywhere from 12 to 14k DPS from me just kind of AFKing. I don't even press it in big bowls. I just ignore it completely. I pay it zero attention and I just let it do its thing. If it procs Moonfire on targets, great. If it doesn't, so what? On low targets though, I will dot everything up. But again, that 1 point is definitely a lot of DPS. The trade-off, obviously, you lose Rage of the Sleeper, which is a very nice defensive button. Personally speaking, I feel like I do not need Rage of the Sleeper currently, with how strong Ursoc's Fury is, in addition to Dream of Cenarius. I know a lot of Guardian Druids have been taking Dream of Cenarius out and putting it in points like Ursoc's Guide, or Ursoc's Endurance, or sometimes even Fury of Nature. I think that's fine. I personally like to take Dream of Cenarius just to have that extra defensive, and instead I take out the Rage of the Sleeper and place that point in Galactic Guardian. Overall, this should be better DPS. 14k DPS on 1 point is very, very good. It's is it 2x better than Thorns of Iron? I don't remember, but you can think of it similar to Thorns of Iron, right? You take Thorns of Iron 1 point, it's kind of like free DPS in a sense. Not necessarily free, but you know, hopefully that is a better comparison. But obviously there are certain dungeons where I would recommend taking Rage as a Sleeper, since damage doesn't necessarily matter in some of those dungeons. Natharis is a great example. There are some very heavy hitting tank busters. You might want that extra defensive. Another example may be Halls of Infusion. Halls of Infusion isn't extremely tight on time, so you could definitely run Rage of the Sleeper there as well. The beginning area has some mobs that hurt a lot if you do massive bowls, as well as the dragons in that corridor. And the gauntlet too, to be fair. Aside from that, I have also tried, after playing with this Moonless Night, the full Moonfire build, and it's 1 point down here. Oops, not 1 point down there. There we go. After playing with the full Moonfire build a bit more, I think it is definitely the highest DPS build. I personally am not too big of a fan. Oh, it's not this one. Sorry. I'm missing something. I am definitely missing something here. Like that? I don't know. Well, either way. Oh no, it's Raise. I'm trolling. Yeah, this is definitely the highest DPS build. However, not having the Ursoc's Fury, not having Rage of the Sleeper, actually hurts too much on my push keys. I spend a lot of GCDs having to press Frenzied Regen, Dream of Cenarius healing, but even worse, kiting. If I have to kite, that's a lot of downtime. So, would not recommend doing this in high keys. In lower keys, if you need to carry your group, definitely a good option. If you feel like you just cannot die, definitely a good option. But other than that, I would not recommend this build in high push keys. It probably will not equate to higher DPS because of the fact that you get a lot squishier without Ursoc's Fury. So that will result in you kiting, and when you're kiting, you have very little uptime. So not ideal, not ideal. Alright, that's pretty much for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.